Week 18 is unquestionably the dreaded week of NFL hell, but I'm not sure that week 17 is all that different. And we got some wild playoff scenarios, unlikely, albeit, but wild playoff scenarios shaping up. A lot of good games, 13 of them, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And we got picks for every game. So sit down, buckle up, let's make it happen. Hey, Dave Loughy here on Twitter at Loughy_D. Hit your boy up if you haven't done so and help me feed the algorithm. If you appreciate this video, maybe somewhere along the way, it helped you out. Even if you're just watching to fade, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, 100% free to do so. And as always, let me know your comments down below. Favorite spots for this week. I got like 6 spots I really like. Some terribly ugly spots that we may just fade and search for some player props, but we'll get into all of them. Before we do, I've been telling you guys about Portfolio EV a lot lately over at OddsShopper. For those of you who are still on the fence, but you know the NFL's winding down, you know that we've got bowl season coming up, and so much more. If you've ever been genuinely interested in like making money with zero effort and zero time commitment, I'm talking get 100+ bets in every day with less than 30 minutes of time commitment, whether you're busy or not busy, doesn't matter. I mean, here are my results. I said on Monday, look, we got 27 games between the NBA and the NHL. I'm going to fire. I got like 180 bets down, had an amazing day. And there's just been so much of this for everyone that's joining the community, that's learning how to do market-based betting. Don't even worry about all of that stuff. We'll teach you. We got the Discord. We've got the tutorials. You can hit me up in the comments or you can hit me up on Twitter. My DMs are always open. I'm happy to talk you through it. But I'm excited about this tool because it works. And I want people to join because they're going to make money. And if you're watching this video, ROI will get you 50% off. ROI, that's the promo. ROI with the link in the description of the pinned comment. It's just been an incredible season. And you know what? I come up with most of my own NFL bets. For NHL, here it is on the screen, and NBA, my results from this season, I haven't come up with a single one. I'm simply just plugging them in from the Portfolio EV tool. When I build out my portfolios, it takes no rocket scientist. All you need to do is watch a few tutorials and you're in and you're making money. Anyway, ROI, link in the description, pinned comment, use ROI checkout, 50% off your first month. Hit me up if you have any questions. I promise I'll be right there to answer them. All right, let's go. Chargers at the Patriots, 42.5 point total. Chargers laying 4.5 on the road. It's a big spot for Harbaugh and the Chargers this week. They need some help, but they can clinch a playoff spot with a win, which is great. You know, you look at Brandon Staley and all the terrible coaching we've seen in LA. Isn't it refreshing? I'm not a Chargers fan, but I root for the Chargers. You know, I'm an Eagles fan. But I like the Chargers in the AFC, always have. You know, Phil Rivers, LaDainian Tomlinson, Antonio Gates, those are my guys. And now I like this team too. How can you not like Ladd McConkey, Justin Herbert, and Harbaugh specifically? Either way, this sets up as a pretty nice spot for them, in my humble opinion. The weather won't be great in Foxborough, but it's not crippling cold. You know, it's not terrible blizzards or anything of the sort. What I like about the Chargers, though, is they're facing a Patriots team that put everything on the line last week in a divisional spot against the Bills, and they ended up falling short by 3 points despite a pretty great effort. I'm usually a fan of the opposing teams, right, the following week, because especially pretty good ones like the Chargers. And this is kind of similar to us grabbing Dallas the other week against the Panthers when the Panthers were favored and they just played a bunch of close games. Prototypical comeback to earth type of spot, and there's a lot of them this week, so stay tuned. But J.K. Dobbins could be back. Gus Edwards is out. I'm honestly not even too worried about the backfield for LA because it's not like it's going to get worse, you know, even if Vidal is in there. Edwards is stunk. They've struggled to run the ball all year. But here's the thing. Give me the Justin Herbert, Jim Harbaugh combination any day over Gerard Mayo and Drake May. Although I like May's future outlook, he's not there yet. Chargers minus 4.5 to kick off Saturday football. Broncos at the Bengals. Bengals 3.5 point favorites, 50 point total. How about that? You all know I'm a huge fan of what Joe Burrow has done this year. And I've been riding the Bengals for several weeks now. I like Bo Nix a lot too. But I don't want to lay more than a field goal against a good Broncos team. Like, it's so funny how things have just gone back and forth on Cincy all year and they do exactly what they're not expected to do every week. It's not like Denver has actually locked the spot yet up for the playoffs. Sure, they're 75% to make the playoffs. I get that. And even if they lose this week, they'll likely still play the Chiefs backups in week 18 with a good chance of winning that one. But one of the teams chasing them right now is this very Bengals team, right? So the Broncos clinch a playoff berth with a win, and that eliminates the Bengals. Huge game for both sides. A Bengals win, however, would keep them alive heading into week 18. And then the Broncos absolutely have to win that game against the Chiefs. Crazy situation. I told you there's a lot of these this week. Now, Riley Moss is expected to be back for Denver. That's a big deal. Having him alongside Patrick Surtain against an elite duo of receivers in Cincinnati, huge. It's a meaningful game. Not just the Bengals, though, who have a sub 15% chance of making the postseason. And I'd say the Broncos stack up quite well against this Bengals squad, whose defense has been downright atrocious all season long. So yes, we're getting them outside of a field goal. As much as we've been riding the Bengals lately, I don't want to lay more than 3 against a very good and now healthier Broncos defense, especially with how bad that Bengals defense is. Give me Broncos plus 3.5. Cardinals at the Rams. Rams minus 6.5, 47.5 point total. Call me crazy. Go ahead, do it in the comments. But for real, call me crazy, but I think the Cardinals could give the Rams a run for their money this week. Tell me down below. You just laying it all on the Rams? We going full out Rams here? Yeah, I can see it. I can see it. A lot of people would have said the same last week against the Tampa about the Bucs and about a bunch of other spots. How about the Bills, right? Oh, how about the Bills? Happens all the time, man. Or how about the Cardinals? Yeah, lose outright. It happens so often. Anyway, here's why. Divisional game, Cardinals were just eliminated from playoff contention. But at the same time, they were never really expected to make the playoffs. It's a huge game for the Rams. If they win, the Seahawks have virtually no shot of making the playoffs, right? They not only need a win over the Rams in week 18, but an act of divine intervention to win the strength of victory tiebreaker. They're 9 games out on that right now. Rams have a massive lead. I like this as one of those spots where the Cardinals could fire out of the gate and cool off in the second half. So with that in mind, the Rams have been one of the worst first half teams, one of the better second half teams in the league. Instead of grabbing the Cardinals at 6.5 or 7, obviously you'd grab them at 7 if you could. I'm only seeing 6.5. Let me get +4 in the first half with some spoiler vibes, at least early on. And I don't think the Cardinals are going to succeed at that. But they have the weapons on offense to make this interesting early on, even without James Conner. On BetMGM, you can get Cardinals +4 in the first half. Everywhere else, it's 3.5. Definitely grab that 4 if you can. Jets at the Bills. Bills minus 10, 46 point total. A lot of points. It also might not be enough. You know, we saw the letdown coming from a mile away last week with Buffalo struggling to hang on against the Patriots. It just makes sense. Divisional spot coming off a massive statement win in Detroit, of course. I did, however, think that the Jets would, have a little life left in them, but boy, was I wrong about that against the Rams. And the funny thing is, the Jets' defense wasn't even bad. What did they hold them to? 18 points, a good Rams offense? Now the Bills, after a bit of a wake-up call, can clinch the 2 seed in the AFC with a win. And essentially, here's the thing. You're not getting a bye, but you're essentially, if McDermott wanted to, getting a bye in week 18 where you can just opt to rest your starters. That's a pretty big deal. It's tough for me to see just a great football team like the Bills come out flat at home in back-to-back weeks against divisional opponents, especially with a chance to put the regular season to bed a week early. Yeah. Granted, they can't just win. This is a 10-point spread. But I'm expecting Buffalo to dominate this one. And it seems like things have completely unraveled in the Jets locker room as well, which doesn't help anything. You got Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner posting these cryptic Instagram messages. Things aren't getting any better in East Rutherford. They're only getting worse. Give me Bills minus 10. Big number, but I'll take it. Cowboys at the Eagles. Here's a fun game to talk about. You guys on the Cowboys here after another kind of impressive win against a Bucs team that needed that last week? The crazy thing about the Eagles, they're 7-point favorites, by the way, is 2 of the 3 losses they've had this year should have been wins. This isn't just me as a homer talking, right? You can say it is. I don't care. But think about this. They had the most routine, could do it in your sleep type of receptions just flat out dropped. One by Barkley against the Falcons. That cost me like 40 grand in the DFS streets. So I'm still salty about that. And last week, Devonta Smith on a perfect ball from Kenny Pickett. Perfect pass to Hurts would ice the game against the Falcons in week 2. Perfect pass that Smith never drops. One of the most sure-handed receivers in the league. Drops it. Would have iced the game down like at the 15 or 10 yard line. It doesn't excuse the fact that they let Kirk Cousins and Jaden Daniels drive down the field on a handful of plays for the game-winning touchdown at all. But those games would have legitimately been over with a routine catch from Smith and from Barkley. Here's what I'm saying. I've thought about this game a lot. And last week, the Eagles, even with Kenny Pickett for 3 quarters, were still in position to win that game with a routine catch, right? It's coming full circle here. I'm not just complaining, although it did piss me off because I bet the Eagles. And Hurts going down. I mean, what are we supposed to do, right? But the crazy thing is we saw a legitimate shift in the way that the defense played this Eagles team last week. When Jalen Hurts went down, mind you, Barkley had 2 touchdowns and 100+ yards in the first quarter. When he went down, Barkley was completely bottled up. They played it totally differently. I will say, though, you have another week to prepare with Kenny Pickett. You have no CeeDee Lamb for the Cowboys, and Cooper Rush is a statuesque quarterback who has no mobility like Jaden Daniels does. And you have a ferocious Philadelphia pass rush that's healthy. I don't see many paths for Dallas to get there. I've thought about this a lot, even with Hurts watching from the sidelines. Give me Eagles -7. Maybe you wait, see if it moves to 6.5. If that's the case, I'd hit it again. But Eagles -7, that's a lean. Panthers at Bucks. This one is not a lean. -7.5, 48-point total. I'm honestly debating an alt spread here on Tampa Bay this week. It's simply the kind of setup that I love in the NFL. Not everything's statistics, right? The Bucks get upset by the Cowboys last week. Remember me saying in this game that I felt like the Cowboys were the play, but I couldn't pull the trigger? Maybe I am a pussy. I really should have. I didn't bet the game. But a big loss last week, big upset. Then the Panthers knock off the Cardinals to eliminate them from playoff contention. We like the Panthers in that game. And now the Bucks have a home matchup in a near must. I won't say it's a must-win spot because the Falcons could lose this week in Washington. But the Falcons have to play Sunday night in Washington with a rookie quarterback making his second start. I think that game will be close, but you see what I'm saying here. Huge game for the Bucks. I think they could come in and just stomp out the Panthers here. Give me the Bucks -7.5. But here's what I want to do. We want to have some fun with this one. We're going to have a little bit of fun with this one in the event that it just goes full out blowout mode. Especially with the Panthers coming off a huge win after eliminating the Arizona Cardinals. 0.75 units on the Bucks at -7.5. And then 0.25 on an alt spread. Plus 336 -19.5. on Bet365. Okay, now if you're not on Bet365 yet, any of those states, if you're in any of theirs, or if your feet are physically located in those states, keep that in mind. $150 in bonus bets when you sign up with the link in the description. That's all you got to do. Deposit $10 and bet 5 of it. The moment that $5 bet settles, you have $150 in bonus bets. Like that. Like the moment it settles, it's in your account. That's all you got to do. So collect it if you haven't done so yet. But I searched around the best odds on this. If you wanted to play this with me and have some fun on the alt line is plus 336 -19.5 on Bet365. But don't put a full unit on that. What I want to do is put 3/4 of a unit on the standard -7.5 and then have a little fun with a quarter unit here. Kind of like we're laddering this spread. I don't know if I've ever done this before, but I figured we're late in the season. Let's have some fun. A quarter unit on -19.5. Just in case this game goes the way I think it does. If not, let's hope we cover the 7.5. And if neither of them do, well, we're down a unit. It's just, it's the same thing as losing the play altogether. Colts at the Giants. All right, Colts are 7.5-point favorites. 40-point total. Here's how the Colts can make the playoffs. Win out. They got the Giants and the Jaguars. The Broncos lose out. They have the Bengals who need to win it, but then they have the Chiefs who probably sit their starters, and they need the Dolphins to win out as well. Sounds odd, right? Well, even though it's strange, it has to do with tiebreakers because the Colts would lose a 1-1 tiebreaker with the Broncos head-to-head. But if the Broncos, Dolphins, and Colts all finish with the same record, then it's a 3-way tiebreaker, which the Dolphins actually win. It's crazy. The Colts would hold the Colts would win that tiebreaker. The Colts would also hold a 4-way tiebreaker if the Bengals finished 9-8 as well. So they could also get in by winning out and the Chargers losing, but that schedule with the seems highly unlikely that the Chargers lose both of those games. So yeah, it's not a likely path, but it's not impossible. Indy should be all systems go on Sunday against the Giants team that is truly an abomination. Is there any other way to describe them? The Falcons only scored 2 offensive touchdowns last week, but finished with 34 points. Ridiculous. Malik Neighbors, labeled himself a game time decision. I don't understand why they push for their rookie star to play unless they're trying to get him 100 reception, 1,000-yard season, but they still have another week to get that done if he's better by week 18. And then you have Anthony Richardson questionable, which could result in Joe Flacco starting because Anthony Richardson hasn't practiced yet. I'm recording this on Friday. I think we could see this number move down too if Flacco starts. So I'm going to wait. Like if this moves down to a 6 or something, I would take the Colts -6 and just hope that Jonathan Taylor runs the ball down their throat like he did last week against a much tougher defensive run defense in Tennessee. So I'm holding out till we get some news, but leaning Indy right now. Let's see what we get out of this Anthony Richardson news. Raiders -1.5 at the Saints, 38-point total. You guys are going to love me for this one. And by love me, I mean you're going to hate me. But you also might not blame me. Again, let me know down below. Look, what the hell am I supposed to do with this? First of all, the Raiders are 1.5-point favorites. It's the Raiders and the Saints. What's even wilder is that Chris Olave might actually be back for this game. He's been practicing in full. Hasn't played since week 9. I'll tell you this much. People are going to look at this Saints team that got blanked last week. First team to get shut out. Sorry, actually on Monday. First team to get shut out on the season. They're going to ignore that it was a road game in Lambeau against a dominant Packers team. They'll forget that the Raiders also have a backup quarterback and no run game to speak of, and were barely able to score points against the Falcons or the Jaguars. They're going to forget all of that. Don't get me wrong. We hammered the Packers last week from this exact video. -13.5, grabbed it, moved to 14.5. We'll take it. Wouldn't have mattered anyway. Every week is different though. And look, I'm no fool. The Saints team is disastrous. They have a ton of injuries. I get it. I stay up to date. But I'm not betting the Raiders as a road favorite. I don't care who. I genuinely don't care who they're facing. I'm not betting them as a road favorite. Matter of fact, give me a half-unit play on the Saints money line at even money on BetMGM. There's no differentiation in my mind between these two teams. And yes, you guys hear that? I bet you're going, yeah, but Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers. Yeah, sure. But Antonio Pierce is the X factor in all of this, and not in a good way at all. Saints money line at even money. Why not? You're getting a home dog no matter how bad they are. We might get Olave too. Against the Raiders. I'm not betting the Raiders as a road favorite. No, not happening. I don't care if they win. I'll never do it. Titans at Jaguars, -1 to the Jags, 39.5-point total. There's 13 games for us to bet. This isn't going to be one of them. I do have a prop for you guys, though, if you're interested. Chigakonkwo over 36.5 receiving yards at -113 on FanDuel. He's been peppered with targets by Mason Rudolph since he entered in relief of a very disastrous and ineffective Will Levis in week 15. But it's not just that. Chigakonkwo has really gotten, the crazy thing is some of the targets that he's had, like he's had double-digit targets in back-to-back weeks. Several of them don't even show up in the box score because they were defensive pass interference calls. I think we could see this one move up over the next couple of days. You're talking about a guy that's running routes. Last game, 30 routes on 34 quarterback dropbacks, 85, a season high 85% of snaps. I think they might just be trying to get Chigakonkwo the ball a whole lot more in a situation like this with the season absolutely lost. The guy has talent. So give me over 36.5, -113. No sides for me in this game. Dolphins at the Browns, similar here for me. The Dolphins are 66.5-point favorites, 39-point total. They're another one of those AFC teams that isn't quite dead yet. They need to win out. They need the Broncos to lose out and for the Colts to lose one of the remaining 2 games. Now, like the other teams in the similar spot as the Dolphins in the AFC, it's a highly unlikely outcome. They've got banged up players. I don't know if Waddle plays, but the Browns, I don't even know who's going to start at quarterback. Is it DTR? Is it Jameis Winston? Is it Bailey Zappi? I don't know. Winston and DTR are both questionable. They're both limited. Going to be a lot of rain in this one too, but around 60 degrees, so not a huge deal. It's just a full out fade for me at this stage of the game. I'd lean Dolphins -6.5 because I have to pick something, but this isn't a game, at least right now, that I'm touching. Packers at the Vikings. All right, possibly game of the week here. Very possibly the game of the week. Vikings are -1, 48.5-point total. It's the sickest setup for week 18 if we can make this happen, right? Vikings and Lions, get them to Sunday Night Football for the 1 seed. Loser falls to the 5 seed or 6 seed, potentially, depending on who it is. If the Vikings win It doesn't actually matter. If the Vikings beat the Packers this week, it doesn't matter what happens with the Lions and the 49ers on Monday night. It doesn't matter, okay? If the Vikings win, all that means is that week 18 between the Vikings and Lions is for the 1 seed. That's it. Even if the Lions win this week, doesn't matter. Just so we're all on the same page. Week 18 will decide the 1 seed. So shall we put our conspiracy hats on? What do you say? Vikings -1 at home to set up an all-time showdown, massive ratings to close out the regular season on Sunday Night Football? I think so. In all seriousness, the Vikings just find ways to win. It's a big game for both teams, but not nearly as big for Green Bay because they have no path to the 1 seed. The highest they can move is the 5 seed, but they're locked into either 5, 6, or 7. I'm excited for this one. I haven't bet it yet. I'm leaning Vikings -1, but like I said, there's a lot of other games we talked about that I'm just way higher on. But a fun game. Leaning Vikings -1. Falcons at the Commanders. Commanders, there's still some 4.5s out there that we'll talk about. 47.5 point total. Michael Penix had it pretty easy on Sunday, right, in his NFL debut because of Bijan Robinson and, well, because of Drew Lock. And sure, the Falcons defense. He didn't make too many mistakes. He had 1 interception. Not enough for Atlanta, at least, to come close to losing. But now he'll face a real football team on Sunday night. There's actually a pretty wild, yet unlikely scenario that could unfold here where the Commanders miss the playoffs. I love this stuff, so sorry for digging into this. If they lose this week and next week, while the Falcons and the Bucs, and don't get me wrong, it's unlikely that Washington loses both of these games, but the Falcons and the Bucs both win out. The Falcons have the Panthers next week, and then the Bucs have the Panthers this week and the Saints next week. That's very realistic. That would actually result in the Commanders missing the playoffs because they lost to the Bucs in week 1 or 2? Week 1? Either way, it's a huge game for both teams. And with that in mind, where I can still get the 4.5 in Atlanta, I think I'm going to take it. I think I'm going to take the 4.5. I went back and forth here. Maybe a half unit play, not a favorite spot, but yeah, where I can get the 4.5. It was just such a massive game for both of these teams. Give me Atlanta. All right, let's wrap this up with a very fun one. Monday Night Football. Detroit Lions, 49ers. I got a lot to say in this one, and I'll have a video for it Monday morning, 11 Eastern, right here on the channel. As always, sides, props, touchdowns. There's a big part of me, the Lions are 3.5 point favorites, that thinks the 49ers have packed it in. This is not a typical spoiler alert type of game for a number of reasons. First, if the Vikings win on Sunday, it doesn't even matter what the Lions do at all. The game is meaningless, legitimately meaningless for Detroit. It all comes down to week 18. If the Vikings lose, Detroit can lock up the 1 seed with a win, but even if they lose, they can still seal it in week 18, right? Here's the kicker, though. Dan Campbell simply doesn't give a shit what happens to the Vikings or with the Vikings on Sunday. And I think we should take him at his word. We've seen him play starters in meaningless spots more than once, so I have no doubt that he's being truthful. Now, it's also possible that the Vikings could lose, and this is a game where they can clinch it. But I don't think it matters. Here's what he said about the situation. This is Dan Campbell. Yeah, I'll make it easy for everybody. That way, all the critics can jump out and start attacking. How do you not love this guy? By the way, you don't have to debate them anymore. We're bringing everything we've got to this game, and we are playing. I don't care what it looks like and where it's at and who's this, who's that. We're going out to play and win this game on the West Coast, so there you go. You think he's bullshitting? Because I certainly don't. I don't. And another reason why I don't see this as a spoiler spot where San Francisco gets up for this is because the 49ers aren't some garbage team who came in the season with no playoff aspirations. They just lost the Super Bowl in overtime and had every intention to get back there this season until the wheels fall off due to injuries and all this other stuff. I'm simply not convinced they care right now. And it's not a spot where it's like, nice, we knocked off the Lions. What do you mean? This is a Niners team that was one of the Super Bowl favorites. They're not playing this season to knock off a team, to be like, hey, look what we did, the Panthers style, any of that shit. Come on. I don't see it. It's outside of a field goal, but give me the Lions, -3.5. We'll talk more about it on Monday. Hey, guys, have a great weekend. Join us over at Portfolio EV and OddsShopper. I make every single bet I have straight from the app. I make 20 bets at a time with the mass entry tool, get hundreds a day. It's the simplest process to just start making money. Got to be 21 years old or to gamble, too. If you have a gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Thank you guys for hanging out. As always, have a great rest of the weekend, and we'll catch you back here Monday morning. Peace.